Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now.
I am a woman of color in the South, and there's a lot of things tied up in Roe v. Wade.
I'm really excited to see lives being saved and women who deserve better than abortion getting the life-affirming resources that they need.
It doesn't matter what I'm thinking. My rights aren't being infringed. Their rights are being infringed.
I want to personally thank the legislature for their commitment to being pro-life and protecting the life of the unborn in Oklahoma.
An emotional weekend for the country, just one day after the Supreme Court reverses Roe versus Wade. Now, the justices ruled 5-4 to return the decision of abortions to the states nearly 50 years after the landmark ruling. We'll have more on the reaction from Coast to Coast tonight. But first, a live look from our Pike Pass Skycam network. It's no secret, it is warm out there, not a cloud in sight.
From the Bombos Weather Center.
All right, Andrew, thank you. And hundreds took to the streets this weekend to celebrate Pride downtown. This on the heels of the historic reversal of Roe versus Wade. News 9's Angelicia Bruton spoke to Pride Fest goers about how they feel about the decision.
Folks I spoke to say Pride is a celebration and they
will still be together regardless.
Angelicia Bruton, Oklahoma's own News 9.
A Metro church is coming together for a night of prayer after the Roe versus Wade decision. St. Paul's Cathedral is welcoming anyone and everyone to join their congregation at 7 tonight. The church is located near Northwest 6th and Broadway. We will be following this. Protests are underway across the nation following the Supreme Court's decision. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is now warning of threats of political violence against judges and state officials. Serena Marshall reports from outside the Supreme Court.
And vandalized. Serena Marshall, CBS News, Washington.
And more from the nation's capital. President Biden signs the bipartisan Safer Communities Act into law. Now, the legislation covers a variety of actions intended to reduce gun violence and save lives. This comes in the wake of a recent string of mass shootings and an increase in gun violence nationwide. The bill is the most significant firearms legislation to be passed in nearly 30 years. 2 more people are now in jail in connection to the deadly shooting at a Memorial Day festival in Muskogee County. Now, 1 woman was killed and 8 others injured. State investigators say Javors Warrior and Keyshawn Jackson turned themselves in Thursday. Skylar Buckner and Kendall Alexander are also in custody. All 4 men are charged with first-degree murder and shooting with intent to kill. And Altus police say they have 2 teens in custody in connection to the murder of 2 other teens last weekend. Officers say they arrested 18-year-old DeJuan Brown this week. They also arrested a 16-year-old but are not releasing his identity. Both teens are being held on 2 counts of first-degree murder. And a word of warning from the Oklahoma City Fire Department ahead of the 4th of July holiday. Remember, it's illegal to make, sell, store, buy, and even use fireworks in Oklahoma City. You're asked to call 911 if you see anyone using fireworks. Now, if you're caught, keep in mind you will face up to a $1,200 fine. And with the 4th of July weekend coming up next week, it can be a scary time for our pets. More pets go missing during this time than any other time in the year. As soon as fireworks start being sold, people start setting them off, causing problems for our scared pets.
One big thing to do, if you can do this, is keep your dog or cat or pet inside. If you can't do that, obviously you want to have a secure fence. And then another really important thing is make sure they have ID.
Now, experts also say during stressful situations like fireworks shows, make sure to make your pets as comfortable as possible.
And you're going to want to try to stay comfortable this evening. It's still hot out there. Our latest heat advisory is still in effect, at least until 8 o'clock. But we've got a nice break from the heat coming. We'll see what our cold front is bringing to Oklahoma coming up from the Bombos Weather Center.
But first, there's a new winner for the world's ugliest dog. There he is. We'll tell you why the judges chose him. In case it's not apparent, that's after the break.
Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now.
We are learning new details after 6 Oklahoma teenagers lost their lives in a car crash.
Those in the community of Tishomingo are spending the day mourning the tragic loss. News 9's Hunter McKee spoke to those who knew the girls.
The accident happened at this busy intersection in Tishomingo. Hunter McKee, Oklahoma's own News 9.
And OHP says their traffic homicide unit is joining the investigation of the crash, which they say could take weeks.
This turnpike sounds terrible, and there's no sound reason for its justification.
Cleveland County residents took to the Capitol to take a stand against new plans to build a turnpike through their neighborhoods. Opponents say the plan will not only destroy homes that have been there for years, but also the environment.
The Lake Thunderbird watershed must be protected at all costs.
Lack of groundwater will lead to increased wildfires, which is going to be disastrous for humans, livestock, and wildlife.
The Norman City Council voted yesterday to oppose the plan until the Turnpike Authority completes an environmental study. More from the Capitol now. A bill looking to ban transgender girls from playing competitive sports passed out of the House chamber today. Our Capitol reporter Augusta McDonald joins us live now with what this means moving forward. Augusta?
Augusta McDonald, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Augusta, thanks. Today, the Oklahoma Supreme Court heard arguments challenging the special election to replace retiring Senator Jim Inhofe. Inhofe announced plans to retire in January, but an Enid attorney argues that the election is unconstitutional, saying the seat is not truly vacant since Inhofe could change his mind on retiring anytime. Our Barry Mangold is following those arguments, and we'll have more tonight here at 6 o'clock. And the race to replace Senator Inhofe is getting crowded. So far, 6 candidates have announced their intentions to run for the Senate seat. Inhofe has endorsed his former chief of staff, Luke Holland, for the position. The primary is June 28th, and the special election is set for November 8th.
A Stillwater parent wants the school district to act now after finding out that students can choose which restroom to use based on how they identify. They're called gender-neutral restrooms. News 9's Angelicia Bruton spoke to both sides of the argument on how they think students should be kept safe.
A parent of a student here at Stillwater Junior High School.
Angelicia Bruton, Oklahoma's own News 9.
We'll be following that. At least 2 people were killed and many more injured after a tornado tore through parts of New Orleans overnight. This was from the same deadly storm system that spawned tornadoes in Oklahoma and Texas on Monday. Officials say the tornado that ripped through Lake Texoma to Kingston was an EF2. If you would like to help Oklahomans impacted by the tornado, the Red Cross of Oklahoma says they will be taking donations on their website to directly help victims affected. There's also a donation drive to collect water, Gatorade, blankets, diapers, and more. You can find more on how and where to donate on their Facebook page.
And what a start to spring we've already had. We have the Kingston residents recovering after that tornado this week. And last year, a major hailstorm in Norman that caused millions of dollars in damage.
So what can we expect this year? You can find out in David's spring severe weather forecast tomorrow night on News 9 here at 10 o'clock.
Poor air quality looms across the U.S. The World Health Organization says 97% of American cities do not meet their air quality guidelines. Researchers say the poor air quality is coming from increasing wildfires, fossil fuel combustion, and car emissions.
I don't think people are willing to give up their big cars and their airplane rides off to nowhere just to get away for a weekend.
Los Angeles ranks as the most polluted U.S. city, followed by Chicago and Atlanta.
Lobbying groups are once again headed to Washington. That's because of declining COVID-19 cases, which is increasing access to the U.S. Capitol and federal lawmakers.
News 9's Alex Cameron introduces us to a group that jumped on that opportunity from our Washington bureau.
The Capitol complex has yet to fully reopen to the public at the U.S. Capitol. I'm Oklahoma's own Alex Cameron.
All right, Oklahoma, we are live in the Bob Mills Weather Center today. Yeah, we have some sunshine, a little bit clouds in the north. It's been chilly all day today. We're talking about more severe weather. Oh yeah, and my spring forecast, we're talking about it. A breakdown of my entire spring forecast tonight at 10, right here on News 9.
Tonight at 10. But first, the key game for the Thunder tonight as they welcome the Orlando Magic. Our Thunder reporter tells us why after the break.
Right now, the latest from police on several deadly shootings overnight. Plus, a look at us now, 2 years after we confirmed our first COVID case. And we're all starting our day on a colder note this morning. Andrew is tracking when will we see showers and storms. News 9 this morning starts right now.
Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on your Sunday at 7 a.m. I'm Ashley Holden and we're going to send things over to Andrew Adams in the Bob Mills Weather Center. And Andrew, we have had quite a last 24 hours and now we have had this major cold front move in. But before that, these wildfires that are behind you right now.
Today coming up from the Bob Mills Weather Center.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much. And breaking this morning, Oklahoma City police say a man was shot and killed near Northwest 122nd and MacArthur. Officers say another man called police around 3:30 this morning, saying him and the first victim were shot. The caller only had minor injuries and was talking to police at last check.
I don't know where they were driving at where it happened. We do know that they were in the vehicle when they were shot at.
Police say they do not have any suspect information for now, and they are still investigating what happened. More overnight, Oklahoma City police say they have a person of interest in custody after a man is shot and killed in southwest OKC. Police say they found the man shot in the head at a convenience store near Southwest 29th and Blackwelder after 10 last night. They also found a woman who was shot in the back. She was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. If you know anything about these two cases, you're asked to call the homicide tip line at the number that you can see right there on your screen. And updating our breaking news from Saturday, police say they have arrested Cameron Parker for allegedly shooting his girlfriend multiple times. Officers found the woman shot in her arms and chest at a home near Northeast 23rd and I-35. They say she was conscious and told officers that her significant other shot her. She is expected to survive. A Metro woman found guilty of first-degree manslaughter has her sentence reduced in a one-year review. Grace Huff was found guilty last March of fatally shooting 20-year-old Montana Sullivan in the head in 2019. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but will now instead go through 2 years of house arrest. She will also have to pay restitution to the Sullivan family. That adds up to $6,000 each year for the next 8 years. Oklahoma confirmed its first case of COVID-19 2 years ago today. Since then, we've seen breakthroughs in science and grim milestones. News 9's Tevis Hill has sat down with the Commissioner of Health and shows us how far we've come as a state.
Well, just 2 years ago when the first case was found in the newsroom, Tevis Hill is Oklahoma's own News 9.
The latest jobs report shows Americans are getting back to work. The economy added 678,000 jobs in February. It was much more than expected, taking the unemployment rate down to 3.8%, a new pandemic low.
We've seen this uptick in hiring with the expectation that the economy is really going to be booming as we get out of this Omicron wave, as we get into springtime.
There are nearly 2 openings for every applicant, and the demand drove wages up. Average earnings in the U.S. are now more than $31 an hour. Still, wages are not keeping up with inflation, which is forecast to be at 8% soon. Local service groups are helping out after flooding at a residence at Yukon Hills left residents forced out. Right now, those groups are accepting donations to help meet immediate needs.
We're raising money to get them hotel rooms until they can find a permanent place to stay.
They're my family. They treat my kids like they're their grandkids, and they've done so much for them.
Residents tell News 9 they only have until March 21st to get all their belongings out of the flooded complexes. Still ahead on News 9, Tulsa police are investigating an officer-involved shooting, the latest from the investigation. But first, the devastating grass fire that burned a Blanchard family's home down. How their neighbors are answering the call for help after the break.
Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now with breaking news.
Oklahoma City Police confirmed they have a suspect in custody after a shooting on the northwest side of Oklahoma City.
News 9's Augusta McDonald joins us live at the scene with the very latest. Augusta?
You're taking a live look, side-by-side comparison of what the fire looks like now on the left versus last night. Heavy flames, so much manpower and equipment brought in because it was so severe.
I tell you, those aerial pictures really play out of how massive this is.
We do have an update now. This breaking news going on in Edmond. The suspect is in custody without incident, is what we're being told.
That's the good news. About 3:30 today, Edmond police surrounded the La Quinta Inn. They were looking for that man right there. You see them taking him in handcuffs, putting him in the back of a police vehicle.
That breaking news takes us to downtown Oklahoma City. Emergency crews are trying to rescue a man right now that is stuck in a grain car. Now, this is a live look at the scene there near Reno and Lottie. We're told he has been there for about 24 hours. We're going to keep a close eye on this, and we'll keep you updated as we know more.
And we're just learning that the newly elected district attorney for Pottawatomie and Lincoln counties has died. David Hammer's family announcing on social media today that he died at 2:15 this afternoon. Those close to him tell News 9 he suffered a heart attack. Hammer won 58% of the vote during last week's primaries, beating incumbent Alan Grubb. All right, thanks, Justin. We have some breaking news. Emergency crews are working to put out a semi that's on fire in northwest Oklahoma City. This is on I-44 near Penn Square Mall. Now, all eastbound lanes of the highway are closed for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated.
We know you'll be following it. Augusta, thank you. Russia's deadly invasion is now in its fourth week and showing no signs of letting up. Surveillance video showed Russian troops opening fire on protesters in the Ukrainian city of Kherson. At least 8 people were killed in another attack on a shopping mall. President Biden will travel to Belgium this week to meet with American allies in person to discuss the ongoing crisis. It was just 5 years ago when our own Alex Cameron was in Ukraine. He followed the Oklahoma National Guard there in 2017 and worked with an interpreter who is now helping news crews cover the war. He caught up with her via Zoom today from our Washington bureau.
When you saw
the nation reacting to a historic decision after the U.S. Supreme Court rules to overturn Roe versus Wade. In a 5-4 decision, the justices returned the issue of abortion to the states nearly 50 years after the landmark ruling.
Tonight, we continue our live coverage of reaction and impact from coast to coast. We're also taking a deep dive into what this means for you. Right now, we want to start with News 9's Alex Cameron, who leads our team coverage from the nation's capital.
And Alex, we're seeing a mix of anger and celebration outside the Supreme Court today.
Alex, thank you. And now we want to go out to our Jennifer Pierce, who is live at the state capitol. And Jen, the governor and state attorney general were out there today calling this a day of celebration.
A bipartisan bill reforming gun control is one step closer to a final vote. The U.S. Senate voted to break the Republican filibuster and cut off debate time on the bill. The Senate could hold their final vote as soon as tomorrow. We'll keep you posted. All right, closer to home, Governor Kevin Stitt issuing an executive order to help keep Oklahoma students and teachers safe at school.
It is called Mission SOS, or Secure Oklahoma Schools. News 9's Angelicia Bruton is live with us here in studio with exactly how this plan is going to work.
The fire threat growing more dangerous today, especially in western Oklahoma. There are now evacuations going on in Roger Mills County. Meanwhile, 20 counties are under a burn ban. That includes us here in Oklahoma County.
And that's right now, but later on, some of us could see chances for large hail, a lot of damaging wind, maybe even some tornadoes tonight. Let's get straight over to David Payne in the Bob Mills Weather Center.
All right, guys, here we go. That's right. We have a fire.
Crews were also busy fighting a grass fire in Jones, all started by fireworks. We're told the fire burned 15 acres near Northeast 108th and Hiwassee. Jones firefighter had to call for help from Oklahoma City and Hickory Hills crews to get the fire under control. Another inmate dies at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. Jail officials say Corey McMichael died at a hospital today after being taken there for health issues. The medical examiner will determine how he died. We first told you about McMichael back in November. Then a Del City mother caught him exposing himself to her daughter through a window. Police say she beat him with a bat before Officers took him to jail.